The first time David stepped onto the porch of his new home, he felt a wave of relief. After years of saving, he finally had the house of his dreams, quiet street, big oak trees, and the perfect backyard. But just as he started unpacking, a sharp voice cut through the air. "You can't live here," shouted Karen, the head of the HOA, marching across his lawn like she owned it. Her finger jabbed the air toward his moving truck. David froze, confused, unsure if this was some sort of joke. But Karen's glare made it clear she wasn't joking. What she said next shocked him even more. "This neighborhood isn't for people like you. I'll have you out before the week ends." Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains, whispering. David's heart raced, but he forced a calm smile. He had no idea why she hated him already, but he knew one thing: he wasn't going anywhere. The curiosity was clear. What could Karen possibly do to force him out? David didn't realize it yet, but her desperate attempts to remove him would end up revealing a corruption so deep, it would turn the entire neighborhood upside down, and this was just the beginning. The next morning, David woke up to find a bright yellow violation notice taped to his door. In bold letters, it claimed his front lawn grass height exceeded community standards. He stared at his perfectly trimmed grass, bewildered. A neighbor passing by whispered, "She did the same thing to the last guy. He left within a month." David felt a pit in his stomach. Karen showed up minutes later, sunglasses on, clipboard in hand. "Rules are rules," she said smugly, handing him another citation, this one for having a blue mailbox instead of approved neighborhood gray. David realized she wasn't going to stop. He was the target now. That night, he sat at his kitchen table, flipping through the HOA handbook. Something didn't feel right. Why were there rules about mailbox colors but nothing about the HOA president having unchecked power? The more he read, the stranger it got. Buried in the bylaws, he found a line that made him pause. It hinted that funds collected from homeowners had never been properly audited. David's suspicion grew. Was Karen hiding something? He decided then, if she wanted a war, he would fight back, but not with anger. With proof. Days turned into weeks, and the citations piled up. Trash can left out too long. Window curtains not uniform. Even bird feeder placement violation. David pinned them all to his fridge like battle trophies. Karen was relentless, but instead of breaking him, her attacks fueled his determination. Late one night, David noticed a black SUV parked across the street. Two men in suits carried boxes into Karen's garage. Strange, considering HOA meetings usually took place in the community hall. Curiosity burned inside him. He decided to attend the next HOA meeting. When he walked into the room, Karen's smile was ice cold. "You don't belong here," she hissed, but he ignored her and sat in the back. On the table were binders labeled HOA financial reports. David's eyes locked onto them. For a moment, Karen looked nervous, quickly moving the binders out of sight. That was the moment David knew she was hiding something big. But what? He needed help. He whispered to the neighbor sitting beside him, "Do you trust her?" The neighbor shook his head and whispered back, "Nobody does. But no one's brave enough to stand up to her." David smiled. Maybe it's time someone did. With his laptop glowing late into the night, David began digging. He scrolled through public property records, tax filings, and HOA meeting notes. And then he saw it, an enormous discrepancy. The HOA collected nearly $1.4 million over the past 5 years, yet none of it appeared in official reports. Where had the money gone? The answer came one morning when he overheard Karen bragging on the phone outside. "Yes, the contractors are paid under the table. They'll never trace it back to me." She didn't notice David listening. His heart pounded. This was bigger than he thought, but proof was everything. He set up a hidden camera near the HOA office door, capturing Karen meeting with those same contractors. In the footage, envelopes exchanged hands. Karen laughed as if she were untouchable. David now held the evidence that could end her reign. But exposing her wouldn't just free him, it would protect every homeowner who had been bullied into silence. Still, Karen was cunning. If she sensed he was onto her, she'd strike harder than ever. David had to be careful. He needed the right moment to reveal the truth, and that moment was coming soon. Karen struck again, this time ordering construction to block the only road leading to David's house. Overnight, heavy machinery appeared, cutting off his driveway. Neighbors gasped in disbelief, but Karen smiled, declaring, "We're expanding the community park." Nothing personal. But it was personal. Very personal. David stood on his porch, fists clenched, watching as bulldozers piled dirt where his road once was. "She can't do this," he muttered. But she had, and the HOA board backed her every move. That's when David realized, the board wasn't just afraid of Karen, they were benefiting from her schemes. Instead of panicking, David came up with an audacious plan. If she blocked his road, he would create his own. He contacted a local construction crew and whispered his idea, a tunnel straight under her blockade. The crew laughed at first, but when David showed them his evidence of Karen's corruption, they agreed to help. Quietly, at night, they began digging. Each day Karen strutted around, thinking she had won. But underground, David's secret path to freedom was taking shape, and soon, that tunnel would lead straight to her downfall. The day the tunnel broke through was unforgettable. David emerged on the other side, dirt-streaked but victorious. Neighbors cheered, whispering, "He actually did it." But Karen's face turned red with rage when she saw. "You can't do this." She screamed, "Oh, but I already did," David replied calmly. Then he handed a flash drive to a group of reporters waiting nearby. Cameras flashed as they played the footage of Karen's secret deals, missing funds, and illegal projects. The crowd gasped. Neighbors who had once stayed silent now shouted, "We want her out." Karen tried to argue, but the evidence was undeniable. Police cars rolled up, and officers stepped out, not to arrest David, but to take Karen away for questioning. The board members scrambled, swearing they had no idea. But David knew the truth. Everyone had looked the other way because they were afraid. Now, with Karen exposed, the entire system would crumble. The tunnel wasn't just an escape. It was the doorway to justice. Weeks later, the neighborhood was transformed. The HOA board resigned, and a new committee of fair neighbors was elected. For the first time in years, homeowners smiled without fear. The blocked road was reopened, and the land Karen had tried to control was returned to the community. David stood proudly by his tunnel entrance, now a symbol of resilience. Neighbors thanked him one by one, calling him the man who stood up when no one else dared. And though he had only wanted peace, he ended up giving them freedom. As for Karen, she disappeared from the neighborhood, her power shattered. No one missed her. David looked at his home, the place she had sworn he would never live, and smiled. "Looks like I'm staying after all," he said quietly, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.